Like he was not really, his main role was narrator. And he was going to continue that. And I really like that because it adds the kind of neo-noir narration that I think the show's genre really fits well into. So that's a lot of fun. I would love a little bit more of that too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Cole.
Hey.
So, how do you feel about your father-son relationship with FP, like, as it grew? Because it started off, like, really bad, and then you guys are, like, close now.
Yeah, I think it's great. I love his character arc. And I think the kind of finding the right path, morally gray FP is something super interesting. And having Jughead sort of fall in love with his family again, I think is a really interesting thing. And his rise to the FP's rise to success within the sheriff's office is also really cool. I love their relationship, and Skeet is such a joy to work with. I mean, such a pleasant person to work with that I love every time we have scenes together. Thanks.
Did you ever think that you weren't able to play Jughead, and if you did, why?
Oh man, every day. Every day. I mean, I think it's hard to find a single actor who at one point in their career has gone, I can't do it. I don't know how to act anymore. Just can't do it. I have no idea what to do. Is this right? Can I do this? And almost, I'd say a lot of the greatest artists in the world have a balance between like incredible narcissism and self-loathing. And a lot of real wonderful artistry comes from the balance of those two. And so, yeah, I mean, when I first got the job too, like I was saying, it's an incredibly intimidating thing because you're walking into a huge, already established fan base and intellectual property that you have to do justice to. And I was an avid comic reader, so I knew how important it was to do justice to that character. And of course, it's natural to think, oh, maybe this is, I can't do this, or whatever it is. But that nervousness is really important, and I think a lot of people forget just how much one can improve through training and practice and boots on the ground and experience. And we live in an age now where I think a lot of the experience that someone receives is frowned upon. Like, people don't want to watch the practice. People want to see a fully formed, prodigal kind of actor or artist without all the 10,000 hours of practice. They don't want to see that. So what ends up happening is that training process and that experience and those boots on the ground end up being frowned upon, when in actuality they lend themselves tremendously to the skill of any artist. So yeah. Was I rambling again?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thanks guys. Thanks. Just tell me when I'm rambling. Go ahead.
I'm Kendall.
Hi, Kendall.
Do you think Veronica and Jughead could be a good couple?
No. No.
Sure.
No.
I mean, it's a CW. Yeah, you know, Tumblr is ablaze with
He was like laughing. He was like,
shipping. Sure. I mean, I'm not putting anything past Riverdale. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Isabella,
Hey, Bella.
and I was wondering, what's your favorite thing to do when you're bored?
Sleep. No. Probably play video games, watch movies, relax. All of us have such a hectic schedule now. We're working so often that really, you know, I'm not bored quite often because we're running around at light speed. So I don't really have too much of a problem with boredom right now. I got a lot of hobbies that I pursue and passions that I'm working with that sort of take my time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jamie,
Hi, Jamie.
and I was just wondering if you had any advice for someone who's about to enter university.
Yeah. I think study things you feel passionate about, and the second you lose passion or don't feel passionate about a subject, just throw it out. You know, I know you're going for, most likely people are going for a specific major or a minor, but I think there's this pressure for a lot of people in high school to try and figure out what the hell they want to do before they get to college. I think that's incredibly restrictive, and I don't think that works in very many cases. And I think even though a passion pursuit might not be the most lucrative thing in the long term, there's really no replacement for the happiness you feel for a good job done within a passion pursuit. And so try and figure that out. I mean, university is a time of self-exploration, most importantly. Dive into it. When you find something you're passionate about, if it's challenging or competitive, really take the time to do it. University in the States is incredibly expensive, way too expensive, and so take it seriously, like really seriously. There's a balance between work and play, but you're at an educational institution to really challenge yourself. Do well, go to the library, do the work, all the work, put forth the paces, and you'll get greater rewards. And in the process, you'll learn about yourself, and you'll also be able to work a lot harder in the future, because that's one of the things university teaches you, is just consistently pressuring you with deadlines in order to make you a more professional person within your field. Thanks.
Hi, Cole, I'm Emma.
Hi, Emma.
I wanted to know why you thought it was important to go to college and if you enjoyed your experience.
Oh man, I love my experience. I thought it was important for a couple reasons. I'd spent 8 years inside a soundstage and I was homeschooled. And a lot of the currency of acting is a kind of empathy that you learn from real world experience and how to embody that real world experience within a character in front of a camera. And if you don't have a strong connection to real lived experience in any way, shape, or form, as often many child stars don't, because they're working kids, then it's really hard to evolve as an actor. I was also undoing a lot of the methodology that I had sort of imprinted myself within on a 30-minute sitcom. I wanted to fade out quite a bit. I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to continue acting, so I wanted to try and regain a semblance of my anonymity, which was important. And I also just wanted to study other things. I needed to redefine also, and I didn't realize this until looking back in hindsight, but I needed to redefine acting as a passion rather than a business, which is a dangerous ideology to get when you work since you're 8 months old. It's putting bread on the table. I could keep going on and on about all the reasons why it was a good idea, but in total, it was a wonderful experience, and I fully recommend it for any young working actor or anyone who's consistently in a soundstage or whatever it is.
Thank you. I love you.
Oh, thanks.
Hi, my name is Jules.
Hi, Jules.
Today's actually my birthday, so
Oh, happy
it's the
birthday.
best day of my life. I'm like a huge fan of Heather's, and I love the musical episode this year. So I'm wondering if you think you're gonna sing again in the next season's musical.
Oh man, I have no idea. Oh man, I think the reason I didn't sing in the first one wasn't so much that the problem was singing, but rather that it made no sense for Jughead as a character. And the way that they framed the song that I was in for this one was that it wasn't so much like a musical act of them on stage or whatever it was, but rather it was just a brief snapshot in time at something that was happening really in his life that just had a soundtrack, which I think is a more interesting kind of way to play it personally. So if it makes sense in the character, I really don't mind too much, and they can edit my voice as much as they want, make it sound a little better. But yeah, I don't have a problem with singing as long as it's in character, and I'm sure they'll find a way to do it again. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Penelope.
Hi, Penelope.
I was wondering which season do you enjoy filming the most?
Oh, I'm liking to think most of us will say season 1. Because season 1 was, we were all still so rose-tinted about Vancouver and about the show, and we had filmed the whole season before the first episode even came out, so we were all nervous about how it was going to do. We had no idea if it was going to be successful or not, and then it really took off like overnight, and it was incredibly validating. And I think in truth, the first season or the first album that a musician releases or the first editorial or whatever it is most often created within a vacuum and a bubble that is so raw and personal, and the fingerprints of the artists are all over it. And then usually season 2, and I think you guys will notice this for a lot of shows, season 2 or the second album has a deep consideration of market and marketability and what worked and what didn't, and what we can risk and which characters need to do this, or what kind of song we need to produce, and if it needs to be a pop song or if it needs to blah, 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 blah. And I think the second season or the second album or whatever it was, whatever pursuit that artistically you guys are going for, is usually kind of self-conscious. Oh yeah, sure. Thank you for reminding me I was rambling.
Hi, my name is Kendall, and
Hi.
first off, I want to say I love you.
Oh, thanks.
And second, I want to ask, have you and your brother Dylan ever tried to trick people?
Oh
Or, like,
yeah, are you kidding me?
And like, how did you do it?
Well, we received each other's diplomas. Which was fun, because we were in those big old caps and gowns, and no one really knew which one was which. But identical twins, I've noticed, sort of fluctuate in similarity. There are periods where we look very different and periods where we look very similar. And during the similar periods, it's easy, but we tried to pull a couple switcheroos when we were in elementary school, and it just didn't go well. Some of the teachers humored it, but it just didn't go well. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Sophia.
Hi, Sophia.
If you could play any other character in Riverdale, who would it be and why?
Yeah, I think Pop, man. It would just be that shining glass over and over again and having these weird prophetic visions of death and doom. I love his character so much. He's just this seer of destruction. Or Dr. Curdle Jr. is really funny. Because I'm pretty sure he said the same line over and over again every episode. But this is the true face of evil. Like 7 times, which was always funny. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but the set dressing is so great inside Curdle's office because there's like a glass of milk and like a half-eaten sandwich, just like disgusting little things to have where you're cutting up a body. It's just like milk, ugh, really gross. But I love his character a lot.
Thank you, I love you.
Oh, thanks. Hey. Hi.
What happened to the lighting in season 3?
What do you mean? Oh, like, I can't see anything anymore?
Yeah, it got really dark. Like in season 1, everything was just bright and happy, and then just in season 3, it became all dark.
Well, you know, we were going for that scary sort of vibe. No, we've switched DPs and lighting crews quite a bit. So almost everyone that comes in has their own vision of how it should look and what it should feel like. And you know, it's a process of experimentation and working with different lights and all that stuff. But it's difficult because we oftentimes shoot in big locations, gigantic natural landscapes at night, and have to light something with a huge balloon. I mean, if you guys saw what it took to actually light this show, you guys would be mystified at the work that goes into it. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but as long as it's kind of in the vision of someone experimenting with the lights and the look, then, you know, it works for them, and that's all that really matters.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Sophia.
Hi, Sophia.
I love you.
Oh.
So, do you think
thanks.
do you think the appearance of Charles in the season finale will affect Betty and Jughead's relationship?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about him. No, I didn't. Yeah, I think certainly. I think that's going to affect everything. And that's going to affect Machen, and that's going to affect Lily, and that's going to affect Jughead and Skeet and everyone. I mean, I think it's a really interesting little narrative. Thanks. Oh.
Hi, I'm Kaya.
Hi.
I was just wondering what your favorite part about being an actor is overall.
Meeting people, meeting other talented people. Acting's it's a weird discipline because it's got 2 sides to it. One is the actual art of being on stage and the passion and being able to embody characters and so on and so forth. And then the other side is celebrity, which is not really part of the job if you think about it. And it's the appearances and the persona and events like this even. And while this kind of experience can be very validating, a lot of the sides of celebrity are very strange. So I enjoy the other side of acting, which is the actual performance, and sort of staying away from the news crews or whatever it is that are trying to understand you as a person. Because I'm kind of a personal believer that the more you show yourself as an actual human being outside of character, the harder it can be for the audience to suspend their disbelief for you as a character. So it can be, I don't know, it can kind of be inverse to success in a lot of ways, and so that's why a lot of older celebrities try to remain as anonymous as possible, which I think is probably the more correct way to go. Thanks.
How did you feel when you realized that you would be almost killed off by the coolies?
Oh, I knew. We had to play it up and stuff and make that big cliffhanger, but we already had the next episode by that point. And our show operates very heavily on cliffhanger. Almost every episode, that's kind of the part of the show that we're weaving into every episode. So, as seriously as some of us may take the end of a season or the end of every episode, it's almost always immediately rectified the next episode. So the cast, we knew. I mean, it's fun. It was really fun to play and see everyone's reactions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Ellie.
Hi.
And my question is, if you could have Jughead date any other character besides Betty on the show, who would it be?
Just burgers. I don't know, he's probably some weeaboo. He's probably going online and like finding a cartoon wife or something. I have no idea. No, probably burgers, for sure. Thanks.
Hi,
Hi.
I just wanted to know what was your favorite character to play?
Ooh, they're all so different. They really are. It's been a really long career. I think this one is really, really fun. Will was a lot of fun. It's really hard to pick favorites. Also because almost every project I've been a part of, at least at this stage in my career, has been a super different type of project and technical project. Like I was saying, Sweet Life was a 30-minute sitcom. Big Daddy was ages ago, and it was a comedy. Riverdale's a 1-hour drama. 5 Feet Apart was a romance drama. And they've all been so different. I mean, I was doing diaper commercials when I was a kid. I can still poop on command. But it's all been so different that it's really hard to pick favorites. And I feel privileged enough that people have liked so many of them. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Alice, and I was wondering who you would pick to be the next serpent leader if you couldn't be it.
Oh yeah, Tony for sure. Tony for sure. She's a legacy serpent, and she also, and she's had experience with other gangs too, and I think it was kind of the natural progression of it. But that scene's out apparently, so I'm wondering. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Lily.
Hi.
And I was wondering, who's your favorite character relationship on the show that doesn't involve Jughead?
Oh man. Yeah, it's so interesting because when I was a kid, I never really looked into like the whole shipping thing that's now become so popular with a lot of shows. There was only really like Ross and Rachel when I was a kid. But I think, I love Veronica and Archie. I think it's a lot of fun. But I also like her and Reggie, because that's a classic storyline within the comics too. Is Veronica's always trying to like play them against each other and pick Archie or Reggie, or it was just a recurring theme. So I really like any of the themes that come from the digest because there's so much you can dive into in terms of research and study, which is a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Peyton, and my question is, out of all the movies and TV shows you worked on, what's the best cast and crew you've worked with?
Great question. I really love the cast of Riverdale, and I think we got so lucky because it's really one of the only things you cannot control as part of the pre-production process. And I was talking a little bit about this earlier to some of the other groups, but you roll the dice. Even chemistry reads or any kind of auditioning process is not really a good indication of cast dynamic, crew dynamic, talent. I don't think these processes are really too efficient at being able to tell if something is going to work. And so we rolled the dice and got really lucky, and we were all in Vancouver, and we all became super close because we all had each other and wanted to have a community to be with. And yeah, we got lucky that we all got along so well. And I think you guys can tell that all the cast really gets along well, which is rare. And it lends itself to the chemistry on screen, so you're getting a better performance, and it also makes you guys watching that chemistry really enjoyable. So we got lucky, and probably Riverdale. But I also love, I was a family with everyone on The Sweet Life. Yeah, I've just gotten lucky. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Emma.
Hi, Emma.
I was wondering if you'd be able to sing the Sweet Life theme song.
Look, everyone wants me to sing things, and I've told you guys so often, like, I hate singing, so no! Absolutely not making me tap dance on stage. And this is the problem with singing. This is what happens after you sing one song on Riverdale. Everyone's like, show us your voice! No. Yeah, whatever. Hey, thanks.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I was wondering how often you get sent memes from like the Sweet Life days.
Oh, I get sent memes from Riverdale. I get sent memes from Sweet Life. I get Friends memes. I think that's just like what people do now. I also think, and maybe I'm just a paranoid cynic or something, I also think a lot of studios create these themselves. Like, no, it's true. Like, this is what ends up becoming viral, and it's like the greatest form of marketing in our generation. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that our show has had a meme every season. And I think it's part of the pastiche. I think it's part of the scheme. Game of Thrones has had like 4 memes cranked out every season. Marvel has a ton of memes that they crank out every season. Do I think that's a coincidence? Not really. I think truly it's the greatest form of advertising you can have nowadays. And the key to it, and I really think this is the key, is letting the audience think they made it up or they discovered something. That's it. That's all you have to do. So these studios and these companies have totally found the key, and they crank them out. And they, all you got to do is essentially pay off a meme account, a popular meme account, to host a certain meme, and you're in. And it spreads like wildfire. So now it doesn't surprise me that I get sent a lot of memes, but I also, I'm like a conspiracy theorist when it comes to memes.
Cole,
thanks.
I'm coming out.
I hope so.
I'm coming out, Cole.
Come on out, baby.
I'm coming out, bro. I'm coming out.
Does that mean time's up? Aww.
You good?
I was rambling for the last 30 minutes.
I've been away for an hour and Cole's answered 2 questions.
Yes.
Anyhow, let's have a big round of applause for my friend Cole Sprouse.
Hey, thank you guys so much. Hope I got to a lot of your questions. I'm sure I'll see you inside at the signing. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Cole.
Thank you, man.
All right, so guys, that concludes